And we're after show.
We're here.
We're here. So I don't know if you're familiar with this phrase. I don't know if it's specifically something that the Utes say, or at least I've heard it on the TikToks. Um, but it's something that lives in your head rent free. Have you heard that phrase?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I was thinking about that kind of stuff, and I feel like we sort of discussed it. Maybe it was either last week or the beginning of the week, where I was saying that there was like a certain phrase that would always pop up in my head, like every single week.
Hmm.
And that specific one was, "Let's do some improv." Oh my god, I'm messing it up. Let's do some improvisational comedy,
Oh yeah.
which was from, oh my god, what's the name of it? Short stuff. Short.
Life's too short.
Life's too short. Yeah, with like Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant and Warwick Davis, and then of course the person who said that was Liam Neeson. And for those who I guess don't know the bit, Liam Neeson shows up to Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant wanting to start doing comedy, like learning how to do comedy, but he's just so intense, and he's just like, let's do some improvisational comedy, and then of course is like way too serious in his
Yeah.
comedy bit, and but it's hilarious. It's
Yeah,
so
well,
good.
he's coming in like he's in like one of the Taken movies. Like
Yeah.
he's so serious, but he wants to do comedy, and then he starts and he goes, and the whole bit is they set up a scene where he's going to the doctor,
Right.
and he tells, and the doctor says, what, I guess, was it Ricky Gervais plays the doctor,
I
says,
think so. Yeah.
what seems to be the problem? And he said, I've contracted AIDS.
AIDS.
And they're like, maybe we should steer away from anything like AIDS or famine or anything really. It's not really good for comedy.
Yep.
And he keeps like he keeps going back to that. He
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. Yeah,
It's
that
it's
show is
classic.
really funny. Um,
Definitely.
but that in particular was really good. But yeah,
And
like when yeah.
I'm curious, is there anything that lives in your head rent free?
Oh yeah. A lot of well, like that's a phrase when someone's like bothering you and they say
Oh,
they're living in your head rent free because they get in your head
that's
and you're
true.
and it just is driving you nuts, and it's like, and they may not even be thinking about you.
Hmm.
So it's like they're just like someone, is just bugging you, and they're
Yeah.
taking up space in your head. So it applies
I
to
was
that.
thinking of it more of a in a positive light.
Yeah. So if so like something that just is um well, like if a song gets stuck in your head, I guess that could be.
That could be an example of it.
Yeah. um I'm trying to think if there's anything that I don't know. I mean, like for me, I think of it in terms of songs. Lately I've been listening to a lot of 60s, um like 60s, I guess you call it pop, like the flower power kind of
Oh,
like
sure.
so like Mamas and the Papas, the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Turtles, stuff like that. So I had the song Monday Monday stuck in my head from Mamas and the Papas. And I went like on
Sure.
a, you ever like go on like a deep dive of like a band you're aware of, like people are aware of them. Like I feel like everyone's aware of the Mamas and the Papas, but they might
Hmm.
not know a whole lot. So I did like a deep dive into like their history.
Yeah.
They were only around for like 4 years, really, like in total.
Really?
Like it's crazy to think about
That's
that.
pretty nuts.
Like they formed in like 65, and
Hmm.
like they disbanded like before like the Beatles broke up.
Yeah.
So, and they were like saying like we couldn't, the Beatles were like doing like other stuff, like they were just so, it's just so insane, like
So
where.
beyond them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And but they did like they recorded an album in like 71, but it was only because of like contractual agreements like from the label, and they like weren't even in the same room, like they didn't like each other
Oh,
at
wow.
that point. Like they just had
Interesting.
a, but like it's just funny because like their music is very like light and happy for the most part,
Yeah.
but like behind the scenes it's like it's so dark. It's
Right.
so like it's just like a lot of I have a dark, well, a lot of partying, I guess.
Hmm.
A lot of drugs.
Oh, sure.
Um, and it's just a lot of sex too, because they were just like freewheeling hippies, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just I don't know. So like things getting back to getting in your head though, like those songs, like they do they do get in my head, but for something living rent free, I guess it kind of I don't know, it goes all over the place with me. Where
Hmm.
something will pop in and out for like a few days, something will stay with you.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe like a stupid YouTube video,
Hmm.
something
I
like that.
I have one of those right now, and I'm want to try to show it to you. I'm
Mm.
curious if this will work. I'm going to try to share the screen and see if this will work. So I'm just going to set it up. It's a little kid, and he's reading uh, a jar of Nutella.
Okay, Nutella.
What's the word?
Peanut butter.
That's it. But it's just the fact that he like just screams peanut butter
Yeah,
so like matter of fact, and then that
enthusiastically.
yeah, and then that British accent, sort of British accent. I don't know, but I
Peanut
just
butter.
peanut butter, and for some reason that's just stuck in my head, living rent free.
I feel like is that what that phrase means though? Because I always thought like rent free was like someone is it's like it's something that's bothering you because it's like
Right.
it's rent free, like it's taking up free real estate and you're letting it in, kind of like you're letting it just stay there. It's like
That
someone
was
who's just living at your house
yeah, that was always
and
my
eating all your
understanding.
food for free.
Yeah, that was always my understanding of it, but um, I've seen recent TikToks where they seem to use it in a different way, where they use it like here's something that like I just think about all the time.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
it could be
yeah,
a TikTok thing. Yeah, because
probably.
I'm not a TikToker.
I'm
So
not a TikToker either. I just periodically I'll watch like a compilation video on YouTube, and I'm like the whole time I'm just like I don't understand the next generation at all, but and then I'll continue watching the videos after, like just out of kind of sheer curiosity. I'm just like, okay,
is it just like dancing for the most part?
it it seems to be kind of like everything. Like it's
Because
sort of like
I do like some of the dancing. Because there's some dancing, like people that dance that I like.
yeah, like there's people who like do some impressive dances. There's like
Hmm.
some people that it seems to have like been adapted as like a replacement for vines.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's what I feel like it is.
yeah, like that seems to be I think basically it vines and like dancing.
Yeah, yeah. It's not something I have. I don't have an account or anything, but
Me neither.
I've seen like little things here and there.
Hmm.
Particularly one this tennis player Gael Monfils, French tennis player. He had like
Hmm.
a few cool videos of him like doing cool like dances and stuff. Um, but like well choreographed and like really cool. Like they were fun. So
Oh, okay.
check out his TikTok. It was really good.
Oh,
He,
nice.
he had a few good videos. But yeah, there's like a lot of expressions, and I've probably mentioned this on other podcasts where like I don't understand where they came from.
Mm,
Um, my parents say one a lot that when they say they don't recognize somebody or like they wouldn't recognize somebody
yeah.
and they say I wouldn't know them if I fell over them. Do you have you heard
Oh,
that?
I've heard that one before. Yeah.
I don't understand that one though because like when do you ever fall over somebody? When do you ever go? Because like
Right.
it's like a
How
really
often does this come up in your life?
yeah, it's a really frustrating expression because I just feel like wouldn't it just be I wouldn't know him if I saw him because like if you see them you
Right.
wouldn't recognize them or like I wouldn't recognize them if I saw him. It's like wouldn't know him if I fell over them. It's
Right.
like I guess because that's like a movie trope or something where like you run into someone and you fall and you're like, oh, I didn't
Yeah.
see you or like whatever. It,
Yeah. Maybe
well,
I
but
guess
but
it's like
that's like a movie. That's like when people fall in love when they smash into each other, and then they like wait, and then they look at each other like, "Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry." You know, like
yeah.
that whole thing. But
I,
that's different
hmm.
though. I feel like that's a different thing. That's not the
I
same
wonder
thing.
if it's like a because like to fall over somebody, you're pretty close to them.
Right,
So
you're gonna look at their face when you get off
right,
because you're gonna be like, but
but
I still
yeah,
don't like it. I don't like the expression like, oh, I wouldn't know him if I fell over. I'm like all
yeah.
these. I just imagine someone just constantly falling over people and just be like, don't know you, and just like walking off, and just walking off. Like it just seems so. It's so weird to me. It's such a weird one.
It
Um,
is. It does sound very rom-commy.
I feel like that's like a it's like a very boomer kind of
Oh,
thing.
sure.
Like these are like I think you know what it is. I think I have a problem with like boomer phrases or like
Boomer
boomer say.
humor.
Well, I certainly have a problem with boomer humor.
Yeah.
I'm very against it. Um, but I do have um,
But yeah, boomer phrases, they're
yeah.
boomer terminology.
Yeah, well, I did at the beginning of the pandemic. I sent a thing to a bunch of you guys that my dad had sent me. That was it was a comic of like it was a comic where they said our pilot's working from home today.
Oh yeah.
It was like the beginning of the pandemic, and everyone was just like boomer humor. Like
Yep.
it's yeah, it's I feel like boomer humor is like hack humor.
Yeah.
It's like synonymous with hacky.
Yeah,
Uh,
totally. It's one step after like the Borscht Belt stuff, I feel.
yes, that stuff is rough. That stuff
Yeah.
is rough.
Unless you're Rodney, you know.
Yeah, but he was like ahead of his time though. I
Oh
think
yeah.
like there are ones that are actually ahead of their time. And look, some of them wrote like they wrote good jokes and stuff, but just a
Hmm.
lot of them are just super dated.
Yeah.
Um,
The
I mean, like Don Rickles was hilarious. Like there's
yeah.
um, I was watching. That's a whole nother thing. That's something that was actually this brings us back. That was something that was in my head. There's a YouTube video of him. It's like an appearance on Jimmy Fallon,
Okay.
and he does this whole long like it's a whole long setup to a great punchline where he says like and I'm butchering it a little bit
Hmm.
but he's like complimenting Jimmy. He's like, listen, he goes, he says, you're so talented. You do all your impressions, they're great, and you have this show, and he's like, and it's so wonderful, and and like you should be very proud, and like it's this whole long thing, and at the end he says, and I just want to let you know, I've never liked you. And it's just the way he does it is it's such a great build up to such a good punchline.
Yes.
It's like, oh, that's so good. And but he
That's
does it the way he delivers it is so good too,
hmm.
because it's just in the same like cadence.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Legend.
he was really funny, always funny.
Totally. So good. Yeah, so that's a great example of something living in your head. The one last thing I would say that I have in my head, and I think about it often. Did you ever see? I actually never saw the whole movie. I just saw this intro part. The Ruddles,
The
the
what? Sorry.
Ruddle,
The
Ruddles.
Ruddles?
Yeah, it was. I
No.
believe it was like a project from at least Eric Idle. I don't know if the rest of the Monty Python crew was involved, but
Hmm.
it was like a play on the Beatles, and they did like a Hard Day's Night kind of movie,
Oh
but
wow.
all about the Ruddles and whatever, which is like a fake band. And the way it starts out, the intro, you have Eric Idle, and he's like doing one of those, um, those like interview kind of things where the interviewer is like they're walking on the street and like
Man on
this
the
is where
street.
the this is where the Ruddles grew up, and he starts walking, and the camera starts moving farther and farther away, and it starts moving faster and faster away, and he has to start running to keep up with them, and that is just to me genius comedy right there. And I think
uh,
about that so often.
yeah. Well, they isn't that like when they did in Monty Python the Holy Grail, where they're running, guys running, and then it's like and it cuts away, and then it cuts back, and he's closer, and then he's further away again, and it just
Yeah,
keeps
it's kind of
going.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. So
So
yeah,
good.
I recommend checking out that intro. I don't know, maybe the rest of the movie's good. I'd say check that out too.
Yeah, I now I want to see it
Yeah, we'll check
for
that
sure.
out. All right. After show.